Hello and welcome, Kitty. Thank you for joining me for our RIMU Reflections series. During RIMU Reflections, we're really aiming to engage and talk to small business owners, just really to understand a little bit more about their journey. So if there's people watching who perhaps are thinking, oh, I want to consider self-employment and I want to think about how I might do that. And also to understand some of the challenges that small business owners are facing over the coming months. There's no doubt, I think there's some quite big things on the horizon, and we can certainly come on to explore that a little bit more. But first of all, let's start, please. What's the name of your business and tell us what you do?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. How exciting. I run Avid Mode with my business partner. We're a small web design agency based in Maidenhead and in Cheshire. And we've been going for about 17 years now, and we build websites, fix websites for small to medium-sized businesses.
Excellent, and very good websites, I should hasten to add, because you obviously do mine too, so that's good. So tell me a little bit about your background. How did you get to where you get to, and what inspired you to set up Avid Mode?
It's a tricky one. So my background is business turnarounds. I was at an investment bank for 16 years where I looked after a portfolio of loans, commercial loans, which were all small to medium-sized businesses, and my remit for them was to look after the ones that were going wrong. So I'd go in and help the clients turn around the business, or help them to turn it around to exit, whatever they needed to do, and then trade them out of receivership if the worst came to the worst. And then my marriage broke up and I had 2 young children, and I thought, oh, what am I going to do? So back then, you know, I'd started, even back then, which was 17 years ago now, we'd started to use the internet and online marketing to help those businesses get their reputations back. So I thought, oh, what can I do from home with 2 youngish children? And the answer was something to do with the web. So marketing, copywriting, but my passion is building things. So it turned into doing a lot of web design work for clients, and it was built completely online. So most of my initial clients were from Australia, the Middle East and the US. It's only since I moved to Berkshire that we do local stuff.
Excellent. So that's I mean, that's really interesting that a lot of your clients kind of found you online and bought you online, because obviously networking is a really big thing in today's kind of marketing mix. And actually we were just talking before we started to record this that's how you and I had met. So that's really interesting that you'd started out completely in the digital space. And did you find that the challenges of those companies based in Australia or the US, did they differ a lot from those in the UK, or were they fairly similar?
Economic conditions obviously vary from country to country. We go through recessions and stuff at different times, unless it's a global one. But no, the psychology of how people and users behave are very, very similar. They might enjoy a different set of media, but it's always the same kind of psychological parameters. Excellent. With cultural differences.
Sure. Okay. So what's the thing that you enjoy most about your business, about what you do?
I absolutely love designing something for somebody, a user journey on a website, and then it going live and watching that client take flight and use the website. We do brochure sites where they don't use the website at all. It's just there as a calling card, and that's absolutely fine. But I love making a real difference to people's bottom line.
Excellent. I guess that's where your background comes in, that you sort of helped that turnaround piece in the past. And I can relate to that. I love that light bulb moment as well. With
when they suddenly realise, yes, I can do something with this, and you're like, oh,
yeah, marketing works, yay!
Yes. Hurrah!
Excellent. And then I guess by the flip side, what's the thing that you enjoy least about what you do?
What do I enjoy least? I enjoy least the larger projects where there are a huge amount of stakeholders involved, and where the design elements aren't necessarily for psychological reasons or as part of that user journey, but the user journey gets broken because different roles have different personal views of how things should be. And then you sometimes get a really broken user journey or a broken design because they start arguing about colours, which really aren't super important, but you use them in certain ways across the site. yeah, design by committee is just horrendous. So
Yes.
I do it, and I'm quite good at pacifying people and getting them to come together, but I find it quite stressful.
Yes, I can relate to that one. Okay, so just starting to get to know you a little bit more, Kittie, how would you describe yourself in 5 words? If maybe Daniel or Robin were there, how would they, or Gemma, how would they describe you, do you think?
The first one that would come to mind would be trouble. I like trouble, curiosity, family, fairness. What would another one be? Quiet, I think.
Quiet.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Professional and knowledgeable, I probably would also add in into that.
That's a hard one.
I'm looking at it from a work perspective, obviously. So tell me one thing that we might not know about you.
Oh, one thing that you might not know about me. Well, I'm tone deaf, and I can't keep a beat. However, I performed ballet at the Palladium and sang at the Queen Elizabeth Hall in London. So,
excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, they are. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know any of that. Excellent. And so just really starting to think about if somebody's watching this, and there may be, you know, we'll come on to talk about it in a minute, but I think there's lots of changes on the horizon coming in 2022 as a result of a lot of the experiences we've had over recent months. I'm anticipating and can see that there may be many people being made redundant or restructuring or questioning, actually, what, you know, am I enjoying what it is I do for a living? Is there something else? How do I move forward? So if there's somebody watching which perhaps is thinking about setting up their own business, their own small business, what words of wisdom would you share with them to, you know, to kind of help them on their way and maybe reassure them a little?
I think understanding what you're getting yourself into is really important, because we see so many stories of overnight success, that you start up a business today and tomorrow you're just amazing, and it's just to pace yourself and to really understand that it's not going to happen tomorrow, but you need that tenacity to keep going. I think that's super important, because we everything we do in life today, we want it all in one go, don't we? And that doesn't always happen. So I think it's just letting you know there is light at the end of the tunnel. The tunnel might just be a little bit longer than you're expecting.
Yes, yeah, I think that's a good one. My one was always to be able to afford to pay an accountant.
Yes, if you don't like numbers.
Yeah, well, I don't mind the whole bookkeeping thing, but I just knew that the stress of 31st of January self-assessment deadline, I just knew, you know, I consider myself a relatively intelligent person, but I just knew that would stress me out beyond belief. So I've always, from day one, I've always been of the opinion that I need to be able to afford an accountant to do that bit for me. And I guess it's, you know, people talk a lot about outsourcing things as well, don't they? So I think it's knowing your own strengths and weaknesses. You know, obviously, if you're an accountant, you're not going to hire an accountant, but you might want to hire a marketeer or a legal person or an HR person.
And you don't always understand, I don't think, what your limitations are when you first start out. But I think if you pause every few months or so and just sit back and go, okay, what am I really hating doing? What am I not doing well? What could somebody else do for me better? Because you can hire people even to do 2 hours a month on something for you, and they're probably going to do a lot more in that time than you're struggling through, taking hours and hours to do.
Definitely, absolutely.
Outsourcing is really important.
Yeah, and also getting yourself a website built, I imagine, is a pretty key thing.
You'd be surprised. I'm very upfront with people, and yes, they do need a website, but it's not the first thing they should think about. There are lots of other things that they need to get in place before because how many clients have we worked with, Sophie, where they've had no clarity around what they do? And you can't build a website if you don't know what it is that you offer or the value that you're providing for people. So I think they have a bit of a journey to go through before they have a website built. Otherwise, you could end up with completely the wrong thing and end up having to redo it.
Yeah, so, that's true. Yeah. So
Google
clarity.
There are ways, you know, social media, there's places they can start with. and not be reliant on hopefully too much, and then a little bit down the line think, okay, yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, so that is actually that thinking. You're right. Often I think there is the misconception that marketing is, if you think of the John Lewis Christmas ad, I always use that as an example because most people know and see that. But, to get to that point, that organization's probably gone through 18 months of thinking and planning and research and development time. It's not something that they think in September, oh, I know, let's do a Christmas ad. It's starting such a long way in advance. And I think lots of people, especially small business owners, don't necessarily understand that actually the thinking behind your marketing. So like you say, building a proposition, be clear on the value that you bring, who your target audience is, what you're trying to achieve is actually more valuable and more important than the end leaflet or social media post or whatever. So no, definitely. So thinking about kind of coming on to think about the challenges that a small business owner might face in the coming months ahead. What are you seeing? What's your sense is kind of going to be happening over the next couple of months?
It has been so bizarre. Things are so upside down, and it's strange. I went to an appointment in Wimbledon on Friday, and it's the first time I've travelled into Wimbledon in rush hour for 2 years. So normally you're like elbow to elbow, struggling to get on, rushing from Paddington onto the district line, and it's horrific. Well, there were 3 people in my train carriage. I had no queuing for coffee at Paddington. And I got onto the district line train and there was literally 1 person in my carriage.
Excellent.
It is excellent. However, if you're a small local business, that causes you a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
So from one perspective, if people aren't commuting on Mondays and Fridays, which is what it seems to be, and they're going into town for longer hours, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, if you run a local business at where they're from, you've got dead time now.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you've potentially got a rush Monday and Friday.
Yeah.
So I think the way that we're working, we're all trying to get used to this new way of working at home or wherever we are, but we're also using services very differently to how we did before, and our personal lives have split differently to how they were. So I think there's a lot of thinking and reflection to be done, and analysing of your footfall and who's consuming what and when, to start maybe thinking about rejigging your hours too.
Yeah.
But there's lots of weird things going on. It's not all about it being online, but those physical services are also changing quite a bit.
Yeah, that's interesting. You mentioned that, because I've also had similar conversations recently. So, as we've talked about before, the timing of things like emails or social media can be really key to getting a lot of engagement versus not so much engagement. Yeah. And there are some general, every business is different, but there are some general rules of, if you deploy an email Tuesday through Thursday, if you have a professional business, about 9:30, generally that's cited to be quite a good time to do that. But actually, like you say, because people are being at home more, they don't have the commuter time. They don't have perhaps a more fixed lunch hour in the office, so therefore they're not checking social media in the same way, they're not engaging with emails in the same way. The lines between home and work are becoming more blurred. So actually, as you say, because our habits are changing, actually, as marketeers and businesses, the way we connect with people has to change. And that's just a kind of an evolving and moving process. So it's going to be really interesting over the next couple of months, I think, to see how that evolves.
And Christmas has already happened, right?
Oh, don't say that. No, it's definitely coming.
It's weird. Some of my clients in certain sectors, some of their competitors have already sold out of things like advent calendars.
Really?
Last year was early. This year in certain sectors seems to be even earlier. And the problem is with the supply chain and some of the older fashion companies that you might be getting your supplies from, they're still not releasing their Christmas products until this month and later in this month. You've missed the boat in certain ways. So I think we're in for a real interesting next year as things start to find a new pace.
Yeah. Definitely, and also added into that, we've obviously got the fuel shortages that we've experienced recently. There's already conversations happening that things aren't being able to come into the UK in the way that maybe they have been in previous years. So they're already, in the media, they're talking about the impact that may have on Christmas and other services.
I know lots of people have already put in their Marks and Spencer's food orders for Christmas and in with the butchers.
Oh my goodness.
We haven't even hit Halloween. I mean, as a marketer, Sophie, this is unprecedented, right? Because there was always the Halloween, then you run into Christmas, and whether you're doing the American Cyber Monday, Black Friday, all of that kind of stuff, there was always a little cut-off. Yes, you would see sweet boxes and tubs in the big shops from maybe the end of September after the schools have gone back, but they wouldn't push it until after Halloween. And where are we now?
And actually I remember, because I remember it not always being that way. I remember Christmas kind of creeping, you get Christmas music at the beginning of November, and I think there was almost like an agreement one year that everyone just went, this is ridiculous, right, we're not going to play Christmas music till the 1st of December. We're not going to talk, start pushing Christmas cards and Christmas gifts until after Guy Fawkes or Halloween, as you say. And I remember everyone kind of going, well, that's more sensible, from middle of November you can kind of get away with it, but any earlier is not okay. But you're right, as a result of some of the supply chain challenges we're seing, actually things are being brought forward again. So interesting times ahead.
Havoc with our diaries, doesn't it?
It does indeed. Well, that's brilliant. Thank you ever so much for joining me today, Kitty. It's been really interesting to learn a little bit more about you, to hear about some of the challenges that you're seeing small business owners face over the coming months. So thank you ever so much for your time. If somebody wanted to find you and get hold of you, what's the best place to reach you on?
Probably either LinkedIn, where I'm Kittie Walker, or kitty@avidmode.com, which is my email address.
Lovely. That's brilliant. Thank you ever so much for your time, Kitty, this morning. Take care, and we'll speak to you soon. Thank you. Bye.